I guess I've always enjoyed selling things. It seems like I've been doing that forever, and early in my career in teaching, I discovered that it seemed like there was always more need than there was money. There just was never enough money, so we found creative ways to make money, because I learned that it was a lot easier to go to the board and say, you know, we have the money, may we buy such and such, than to say we need such and such, can we purchase it? So we sold hundreds of pounds of vegetable rennet cheese and boxfuls of Versatron candles and remodeled the entire school inside and out. And there are still some people that probably believe there's a special place in hell reserved just for me because I sold cheese. But I assure you that actually it was the pastor of our church that got us into that anyway, so I can always blame him. We did all kinds of things. We bought copies of the Bible story and beautiful children's books at really reduced prices. We sold them for far less than retail. We sold greeting cards of all kinds, fire extinguishers, pictures from Gleaner covers that the children framed. We purchased audio-visual equipment, all kinds of things for the school. So, yeah, I've been selling stuff for a long time. So when my wife and I accepted the position of co-directing the Grays Harbor ACS, we once again saw the need for financial assistance. As I remember, the bank account at that time had around $1,900 in it. There was a small room in the community services building about the size of a large walk-in closet. In fact, we called it the closet, and today we have a gift shop actually by that same name. One of the volunteers and I hauled in tables and fastened little shelves up on the wall to hold knickknacks and that type of thing. The building was one of 4 modular units that had been purchased from the Satsep nuclear site. And actually the walls were not strong enough to support regular sturdy shelving, and today the walls are gradually falling down. So our building is not in what you'd call really good shape. But word spread that we were selling merchandise to help finance the food bank, and so used items began flowing in. And soon we ran out of room, and the need for more space became really crucial. I remember having sales in 7 different locations and providing the customers with a map directing them to the different places where items were displayed for sale. We used the fellowship hall of the church, a corner in the Dorcas room, shelves in the food bank where we covered the shelves that held food with sheets, and other areas. One of our food bank clients at that time worked for HUD, cleaning houses. And she told us that she often found working appliances in the houses that she had to dispose of. And she asked me, would we be interested in receiving them? And of course, since I'm one of the world's greatest living pack rats, I said, of course, we would be glad. But the question was where to put them. Well, we took over another room, and we've been taking over rooms ever since. This particular room had been used for a youth Sabbath school room, so began the parade of used refrigerators, freezers, ranges, dryers, washing machines, dishwashers. And most, if not all of them, needed cleaning. In fact, some of the reefers that came in looked like cats had been living in them. I remember one General Electric range in particular that came in. The top of it had 1/4 of an inch of grease on top, and the oven looked like it had had a fire inside. I spent a day and a half cleaning it, but it turned out beautifully, and I sold it for $225. So I thought, well, maybe there was something to this. Used items began to pour in from the community, and I might tell you that it has never stopped. And I gradually began to observe that this idea of selling used but still useful merchandise maybe wasn't such a bad idea after all. In fact, the resources seemed endless. And over the years, I've learned to have a new appreciation for the text that says, I will pour you out such a blessing that you will not have room enough to receive it. because the need for additional space became really serious. Little by little, we took over more rooms in the center. The one large room, which at that time housed the Dorcas Society for many, many years, looked very inviting. But the acquisition of that room is another story, and it's one much too involved to tell here. But after a lot of prayer, careful consideration, and planning by the pastor and others, it became available. And finally, the Thrift Center had a home. And I did not have to carry boxes of things from one building over to the fellowship hall and back again, what didn't sell. So we had a permanent location, and we've continued to expand, even into the hall, as Michael can tell you. And he's always telling me that the fire department is going to come and close us down if I don't get the hall cleaned out, and I know that's true, so we're holding our breath. But the building now houses the clothing bank, food bank, a thrift center, and what we've called a gift shop, which I told you was called the Closet. Unfortunately, there isn't any more room to expand, and we're currently exploring other options. The Lord has blessed in some miraculous ways, and we're looking forward with a great deal of anticipation to how He's going to lead in the future. The current facility, called the 3 R's Thrift Center and Gift Shop, though off the main thoroughfare, enjoys the patronage of many local people as well as those passing through on their way to the beach or somewhere else. And we regularly have new people coming in for the very first time. The community has been very supportive, and we continue to receive loads of usable merchandise, some of it even new, which will keep the food bank operating. People seem to like the idea of supporting something that's putting money back into the community and not just going into somebody's personal pocket. I envision thrift stores as being valuable for at least 4 different reasons, and I'm sure there are many more, but these are 4 that I have felt are important, not necessarily in order of priority, but first, they offer a sensible and inexpensive way of disposing of what has become an incredible glut of used items in this country. People have so much today that they have to rent storage facilities in order to have a place to put them. Either that or take it to a landfill. Second, it provides an opportunity for people to help and to be personally involved in helping a local charity. And people like to feel like they're a part of supporting a worthy cause. It gives them a good feeling. It gives them a feeling of worth and dignity. Third, it helps provide the finances, the financial resources that are necessary to support whatever community cause you wish to support and fund. In our case, that's the food bank. We have a lot of expense other than purchasing food. We don't purchase a lot of food, but we have big expense with running those 18 refrigeration units. There's electricity, in the winter there's heat, so there's a lot of expenses. The money goes directly for that purpose, either to purchase food, pay for utilities, and we have no paid employees at this time. I'm still waiting for a salary, but it's never happened. Fourth, it provides a wonderful opportunity to connect with people, and I think that this is one of the most important ones. The very name, 3 R's Thrift Center, gives me an opening for conversation because people ask me, 3 R's, what does that stand for? Well, we do have a big sign across the front of our building inside that says what it stands for, but a lot of people don't read that. So the first R stands for rescued. Items are rescued from being tossed or stored. The second R stands for restored. If things are dirty, we clean them. Now, Wes told me one time, he says, we never clean anything. Well, that's wonderful, and I'm glad you can do that, but if I didn't clean anything, there'd be an awful lot of things that we would not have for sale. The third R stands for redeemed. Items are bought back or redeemed. And I'm sure that the spiritual application of this is obvious to you, and it gives me a chance to tell people and to witness. As people shop, we have an opportunity to talk with them, to hear their challenges, listen to their stories, become acquainted with them. We have a lot of repeat customers whom we're often able to call by their first name. And the opportunities thus experienced, I think, offer an unlimited chance for ministry in the community. And a fifth one, which is probably not really valuable, but fun nevertheless, is the opportunity for discovery. Every box I open is like Christmas because I never know what I will find. And I'll give you an illustration of that. I had a plastic peanut butter jar, one of these big ones that the peanut butter comes in like you get at Costco. It was full of money wrappers, just paper money wrappers. And I thought, I don't have any use for these. I'm not making that much money anyway. What would I put in them? So I called the treasurer of our church and I said, would you have a use for some money wrappers? He said, yeah, I probably could use them. So I gave them to him. A couple of days later, he called me. He said, Bob, you remember those money wrappers that you gave me? I said, yeah. He said, well, one of them felt kind of heavy. He said, I opened it up and there was $80 inside. I just said, thank you, Lord. We had no idea. I don't keep track of who brings things. I purposely do not write down the names of donors, so I had no idea where it came from. So I never know what I find. Often we receive some really beautiful and even expensive things. It's a continual surprise. And of course, eventually, occasionally, we do receive some junk. But we are behind a locked chain link fence, and I think that really helps. We don't have dumping. And people take pride in bringing things that they know will be able to use. I've even had people say, and even go through stuff and say, I want to be sure that I don't give you anything that you cannot use. The clothing bank, in fact, receives so much that they scarcely know where to put it. We're able to send a lot. In fact, I have 28 boxes right now waiting for ARC. I'm sure you know about ARC, A-R-C. And they reimburse us by the pound, and so that helps us. As I look at it, I see some basics in making a thrift center a viable enterprise. We do not make a lot of money. I doubt we're only open 2 days a week. We're thinking about opening more. Personnel is a problem. I've tried to figure out how to clone myself. I haven't learned how to do that yet. And I am not an expert, so I can only share with you what I've learned. But I think location is paramount. And that's one of our problems because we're off the beaten path. But location is really important. The store needs to be in a highly visible location. It needs to be easily accessible, and you need to have enough parking space. Handicapped accessibility is certainly good if possible. If you're not on ground level, a ramp is wonderful. We're fortunate, as I told you, to being behind a chain link fence with a lock gate, and this prevents dumping of undesirable stuff. Attractive signage is important. We used to have sandwich boards that we'd put out every morning, and I'd drive out and pick them all up again until the PUD didn't like them and thought I was advertising for people to come into their facility. And so they picked them all up and told me I couldn't use those anymore. So I've tried other things. I fastened things on the PUD fence. They didn't like that either. I was going to put things on poles, and of course you know the PUD poles, you must never nail anything into a PUD pole. So I've tried to figure out creative ways to get around that. Michael made me some wonderful signs that are not heavy. They're on a material that's rainproof, and that's important in Grace Harbor. And so I tie them with a rope around the pole. They can't say that I have nailed anything into their pole. And so far, they haven't caught me and asked me to take those down. But it's a pain. I go out every morning and tie these things up or put them in a little stake in the ground. That's a problem. We need a permanent sign. So attractive signage is important. People need to know where you are. If you have a listing in the local phone book, that's probably good. The room or the rooms ought to be spacious. They should be well lighted and inviting. Merchandise needs to be attractively displayed and sensibly priced. I have learned a great deal from PAX about how to price things, and that has helped me. I still goof quite frequently, and somebody will say, this is too high. You need to lower the price. And I say, great, I appreciate knowing that. Sometimes people tell me your prices are too low and you need to raise them. I always like to hear that. I've tried to avoid the Salvation Army goodwill look by having a more open, customer-friendly appearance. I've tried to get away from the rows of things. Now, that's wonderful if you have rows of shelving that you can use. I am extremely jealous of Carolyn. I have been in the Relive Thrift Center, and it's marvelous. Their space is marvelous, and all the wonderful shelves are marvelous. I did not have access to that kind of thing. Maybe sometime I will. The aisles need to be wide enough to accommodate shoppers comfortably, and ours are not. For people that are gifted with a little excess weight, it's difficult to get around between our shelves, and I've been told that, and I know that it is. And one more thing, your store needs to smell good. There is an odor in Goodwill and Salvation Army and some of these places, but it needs to smell good, and it's worth your time to get some nice air fresheners and have them in there, because I cannot tell you what a positive experience it is to walk into a pleasant smelling facility. And the opposite is certainly true if it's not good. It's nice to have some background music. I think that's a nice touch. You probably wouldn't play religious hymns, but you can have some nice soft background music, and that's good. You can establish a good rapport with the city in which you plan to operate. Business license is required, of course, and if you have a 501c3 nonprofit status, that is even better. Now, in closing, I just want to tell you a story. We had a customer at the food bank for many years. She was a faithful lady. She came to the food bank. The day came when she became ill and she passed away. My wife and I decided to attend the funeral service in town. We did not know anyone in the family. We went there to the service, became acquainted with some of them. We ate dinner with them. They provided a meal after the funeral service, and we just got better acquainted. They asked us some questions about what we did. Of course, we introduced ourselves, and they knew that this lady had come to our food bank for many years. So, unknown to us, they decided that a lot of her things were going to a little consignment shop that they had in Hoquiam. The manager of this consignment shop was her daughter. And for reasons unknown to us, they decided to send us a check every month for things that the mother had and had been sold. It was not a large check. It might be $20, $30, and that didn't go on for a long period of time. But it did, and they did that for us. The day came after a number of years when we received a phone call from a food bank manager in Hoquiam that this lady of the consignment center was trying to get a hold of us. The reason she wanted to get a hold of us, the daughter of the mother that passed away, was that she was tired. She was quitting. She was not going to operate her consignment shop anymore. Would we be interested? They would like to donate basically most everything in the consignment shop to us. Well, once again, you know that I am the world's greatest living. And so, of course, I said, oh, yes, we'd love to have it. So pickup loads, van loads, and car loads later, we had it. Where? In the hallway, of course. Where else? But that was an incredible blessing. We got a lot of very nice things that we were able to use, and we still have some of it. The clothing bank got a lot. A few months later, this lady came into our thrift center, And she said, "What is your address?" I thought, why does she want the address? She said, "Well, my husband's logging operation has done really well this year. We'd like to give you a little check." So I gave her the address. She handed me a check. And I almost lost my false teeth when I looked at it. It was $500. And we did not know these people, but there had been a contact, and she had not forgotten. The Lord works in mysterious ways, his wonders to perform.